Hey, howdy, hey. We're going to be continuing this animation here and hopefully get some good progress on it. This is a short that I began years ago, and then I ran into problems, and it took years to finally figure out what was wrong. It now is working. I'm able to animate it, but now that means I have to go back and refine it. And so that is where we currently are in this endeavor. Okay, so just finished checking the audio. It seems to be good. If there's any problems, be sure to holler. If not, I will, just assume that everything is still working. Um, that's a problem. Apparently, we're having technical difficulties. Stream wasn't live 10 minutes and was starting to have problems. And I know why. Yeah, it's fine. Hopefully this will be the last stream where this happens. Will is going to come back online. Showing a ton of frame dropping. Let's see if this works. Aha, and it's back. It was indeed that. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. So this is because I'm in the process of upgrading the internet. That's why this is happening. And I was still doing a transfer, and it looks like that transfer was causing problems. Aha. Anyway, looks like the problem has been solved. Tragic. Not like this is like a super important stream, of course. This is mostly me just streaming so that I can maintain focused while I am getting this stuff done. And then, carry on conversations with people as they come by, if they come by. In the meantime, I think now's a good time to ramble. So, something has been bothering me. I know, big surprise. Something has been bothering me, and it had to do with a post I saw from somebody I know. This was somebody I knew from way back when, and they've been praising left and right a movie that came out into theaters. It's a dark movie. It's a troubling movie. And alas, the movie's did incredibly well. And I didn't know anything about it until the other day. Then I started paying attention. The movie is Obsession. And there's few times where I feel so utterly and totally disgusted with a movie that I start to realize I need to limit my friend circle. That is such a movie. It is sick. It is one of the most sick movies I have ever heard of. Now, granted, it's not the worst. There are others out there that are even worse. But man, that one surprised me. It surprised me just how dark it was. And I haven't even paid much attention to it. I just realized that this thing is like super popular. And I'm like, why? Why is it so popular? So I read some of the statements that were said, and I got even more disgusted. It made me want to see Disney Star Wars thrive and become one of the most successful franchises of all time. That's how disgusted I was from that. Why? Disney Star Wars doesn't have the dark perversion that story has. I've never really thought how much It's sad. It really is sad because there's some people that leave a lasting impression on you. Some people that are genuinely kind to you. And you don't really want to throw a fit, embarrass them, shame them. But this one, that's a tough one. It's a tough one because I realized just how perverted so much of that stuff is. And I started realizing the more that I ignore it, the worse damage starts to happen. The more people are going to be encouraged to go out and see it. Oh, but what's the big problem? Can't we just like what we like? You know, I once was asked what my limits were for a movie. And I told somebody because they were like, hey, we're going to go watch a movie. Want to join us? And I said, I'm not sure what sort of movie you're going to watch. And like, oh, it's going to be a great movie. And I started getting a little wary. And they said, don't get so bent out of shape. This is going to be fine. And so, honestly, I didn't think anything too badly of them. I was, well, obviously people like it, so what's the big to-do? Maybe, wait a second. Not editable. But anyway, editable. Oh, override. Save. What the heck? Stand by just a second. I'll continue that story in a moment. Insert key on 3 data blocks. It's been skipped because they're not editable. All right. Time to troubleshoot. All right. Come on. That should be correct. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a second. It's because they're animated, aren't they? They got keyframes on them. No? Well, let's just save it and try it again. At least he's not animated yet. Remove overrides. Well, let's add this guy back in. Delete hierarchy. Double check that. Okay. Let's add in a linked again. I think it was just a minor glitch that happened with some of the edits that were going on. Worm rig. Collection. Import. Override. There we go. What? Not editable. Choose relations. Are you kidding? Make local? That's not going to help. What if I just make the armature local? This kind of ruins the point of having something linked. Okay, so while I do research on this, to finish off that story, so this guy said, don't worry, it's not a problem, you'll love it. And we sat down and we watched 30 seconds. And I was so disgusted. I got up, looked at him, and he just had a stupid grin on his face, like, I got you. And I walked out, never spoke with him as a friend again. I viewed him as an opponent. I talked with him since, but it was never friendly. It was never with any sort of anything other than caution. So it's frustrating when stuff like that happens. The movie that came out is doing that to people. Some people will listen to that one person who says, don't worry, it's a great movie. And they go and they feel like they have to wash themselves because it's so disgusting, it's so perverted, and they're like, what do? I can't get it out of my mind. I've had to deal with that. It's not easy, and you know what, it doesn't necessarily get easier. I wish that we didn't have to deal with struggles. I wish we didn't have to wait a second. I wish that we didn't have to deal with people trying to be the devil in our lives and tempt us. People can have their struggles. But the moment you share that with others and say, hey, come on in, you've become something else. You took your weakness and you imposed it upon another. And it does get pretty tough. Wait a second. Missing linked. Are you kidding? Okay, let's just save this. Oh, that's because he's here too. Wait a second. I think we had two, and that's what's going wrong. Delete hierarchy. That one's not. That one's gone. There's another. Delete hierarchy. But how do we deal with people that are going to try and be tempters? Well, we got to learn to put up some walls. I wish I knew that when I was younger. Wish I'd known what to look for, how to avoid some people. Maybe life would have been a little bit different. Sadly, though, it's not guaranteed to fix all the problems. But what I see right now with the current films that are coming out, people are trying to encourage folks to give in to their darkest thoughts, to the darkest possible horrors, in order to say, oh, it's just entertainment. Don't worry about it. It's really good. Yeah, sure. Shame on the people that are pushing that sort of stuff, honestly. If they knew what that does to people, they wouldn't care. I honestly do believe that they wouldn't care, but they should. Because that stuff becomes vices and it destroys people's lives. And then they're like, well, no, it was my fun. They shouldn't have destroyed them. That's their problem. No, it's your problem because you fed it. You introduced it, and thus you are responsible. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to deal with the heck? They don't want to have to deal with the trouble that ensues. But it doesn't stop the damage from being done. And they can deny it all they want. I've seen kids that are horrified from things that their parents showed them. And the whole time, like, this is a warning sign. Everybody can tell it, but the person who is being the vice. Very, very unfortunate. Okay, I need to put more effort into trying to figure out what is going on here. This was working the other day. Skipped link rig because they are not editable. Why is this happening? Error disabled. Is this a new error, like from the recent update? That's a really weird one for them to overlook. Not editable. You can localize, but that ruins the point. Wait a minute. Is it? What the heck? No. Why do they have to keep doing this? Linked rigs is something that Lightwave 3D got figured out in the early 2000s. Why is linked rigs so difficult? This is like standard across the industry. Well, it looks like the bug is quite a problem. So, thus, they're saying, until further notice, append. Damn it. That's really unfortunate. I hope they fix that soon. But they won't. This one has routinely been a hindrance for them. They've not been able to figure it out. And that's unfortunate. All right. So, where was I? Oh, yeah. Tempters. Who's to say that we are that we understand our how we are hurting others? How do we understand that what we are doing is at fault? How come it couldn't be just that somebody else is the problem? Why does it have to be us? I view it because we're the ones introducing. We're the ones encouraging it. Again, we can have our vices and it can be our struggle. But the moment we start to share it with another, we start to put our stamp of approval, our endorsement of it. And then, well, unfortunately, everything that is evil
starts to seem very appealing.
And unfortunately, the more people start to get pushed into darker and darker stuff. I never want to be responsible about that. I want to try and help pull people towards the light. Now, as one thing for somebody who is not a Christian to find excitement in that sort of stuff, I don't necessarily have anything I can say about people that are in that are, not Christian. Those that are Christian, though, you have to start to ask some very serious questions. Why? Why is it so important that someone join you in the sin? Again, you can be having your struggle and people can pray for you. But the moment you start to revel in it and say, yeah, come on in and join me, I view you in a completely different light. Not that I want to, but I realize just how easy it is to push people down that path. To make things more difficult, troublesome. let's say that you know somebody who is struggling with alcohol. Would you call yourself a noble person for trying to get them to drink? Oh, well, you can't say that because, everyone drinks and blah, blah, blah. That makes the people that drink sound like they're evil. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you know somebody is struggling, are you going to try and hurt that person by forcing them into that situation? What if it's somebody you care about? What if you know that let's put it on something different. Let's say you have a relative who just had a nasty, nasty divorce. Their whole world came crashing down. And are you going to go up to them and say, terrible things in order to break their spirit? Are you going to look at them and say, gee, you kind of had it coming? Are you going to tell them anything that is designed to break them? And if not, why? Why would you care about that? Well, what I've noticed is that there are people out there who do very much think that it is their position to break someone rather than help restore them. And it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't make you honorable. It doesn't make them recover. So what if somebody, for example, is dealing with a drug? Are you going to sneak into their room and put drugs on their table? No. Not if you love them. So then why do we think that a movie is harmless or a game is harmless? What do we think goes on when we are enjoying those things? Do we realize that they are vices, that they can very easily ruin people? I should have done this a little bit better. Oh well. The reason why I ask these things and why I state these is because I was the recipient of people trying to break me. In some ways, I overcame it. In other ways, they broke me. In some ways, things did not recover. And to those people, that was fun for them. Yeah, we got you to break. They don't have to deal with the fallout, but you will have to deal with the fallout. You'll have to look at it. You'll have to look at the struggles every day and say, this stuff has left a permanent mark. There was a guy at at the theater department when I was in college. He was well known for having a family that had cast him aside. He was not a good man. He was a very bad man. But his family didn't make the thing any better. They, in many ways, were the ones that pushed him that direction. They're the ones that threw him over the edge. And I would say they bear a lot of the responsibility. Now, does he bear the responsibility more? Yeah. But you can't overlook this stuff and just say, well, he obviously was set up by life. Sure, there's a lot of things that make us set up in a bad way in life. Life is not fair. The burdens that we have from the struggles that we have to deal with do not get any easier. In many ways, it just gets worse the older that we get. And sure, somebody put us on that path. Just like the devil, when he held out that fruit to Eve and said, look at this, you can become like God. They're like, oh, how wonderful, it's an apple, I love it. What? Become all powerful and all knowing? Yeah, that's what I want. And Adam's like, oh, it didn't kill my wife. Oh, I guess I'm going to try it. It takes a tempter, but it also takes someone to accept it. Problem is that when we accept it, many times we accept it when we are ignorant. There's many people that I've met who are dealing with the fallout of those decisions. Life is not better for them. Now, some of them have recovered. Others have not. There's one guy who was caught in an affair. Not directly, but he was caught when suddenly his girlfriend was found to be pregnant. He received steep ridicule because suddenly everyone realized what sort of man he was. He was in fear for quite a bit of time. And you know what? He owned up to it. And, he now has quite a large family. He was somebody who spent a lot of time skirting the rules, making sure that he didn't have to deal with the consequences. But then when the consequences became too much for him to hide behind, he then realized, well, he has two choices. One, he can try to take the coward's way out and try and have the kid removed, aborted, or he could have owned up to it, and he did. He did own up to it. He received ridicule. He received punishment. He missed out on great opportunities. And, but you know what's ironic? His life is more together than most people I know. Despite that. Why does that happen? Why is it that when people break the rules and then bring others into that behavior, why do they receive benefits in many ways? Because he has received benefits. He's been successful. when others are not. How does that happen? Well, in many ways, it's because I think there's mercy being shown. If he had nothing, well, he would become probably very discouraged, knowing that everything was ruined and there was no recovery. So he's shown mercy more so than others. The bigger the crime, the more mercy is shown. But that still doesn't fully understand. It doesn't explain why the blessings happen. Am I saying that because I think somehow he has blessings that other people should have? Well, in many ways, yes. But you know what? It's also because when you are told that there are consequences for decisions, and then you see someone get away with it, you're like, well, what was the point of that? Well, again, you're not going to get everything you want. You're not going to be able to escape. Just why is this happening here? Are these things connected? No, they're not. Oh, I know what's going on here. Copy location, that was it. Anyway, is it because these people get a blessing when we're told there's supposed to be a curse? Yeah. That, more or less, is what happened to the prodigal son and the faithful son. What happens when the prodigal son gets back? He gets a blessing that the loyal son did not get. The loyal son wanted something so very basic, and he didn't get it. But his brother, the one who did rebel, did. We look at stories like that, and if we're somebody who has been the prodigal son, then we're like, we are so grateful. Thank you so much for that. But if we were faithful for the most part, and then we look at it and it's like, but I did everything right. Why? Why does that happen? Well, that's a very good question. And not one that I believe has very clear answers. God will have mercy on those that he wants, and he will be angry with who he wants. But in this sense, it makes less sense because he's very clear in the Bible about how he wants people to be he wants people to be striving for righteousness. So how can that be then? If some strive for righteousness and don't receive, but yet those who don't do receive. Is that a mistake? Or is that maybe how things should be? And if so, should we be seeking it out? No, we shouldn't. But I do admit that it does get very tempting. Because then you look at it and you're like, but why? Why? But here's the question. What if that is the temptation? What if that is how Satan tempts those who are faithful and says, oh, but look. Satan looks,
oh, but look. That person over there got everything. I gave them everything, and yet you the faithful, fail. You stumble, you fall, and I mock you for that.
And then you, as somebody who's trying to be faithful, looks and is like, yeah, you know what? That person did succeed. Obviously, there's something wrong. Maybe I should do it their way. Maybe I should do it the way that Satan teases. Not realizing the vices were not what could get a hold of you, but the bitterness was. Suddenly you start to turn to evil, and you start to find it more and more appealing. And then you're like, well, I'm still not getting what the rebellious son got. How can that be? And the whole time, the devil's just laughing from the sidelines because you bought the lie that somehow it was rebellion that was giving all that profit, all that benefit. Not realizing that, well, it was just a temptation. And the one that was tempted by the wealth and by the power and by the perversion, they were tempted that way. And then you, who tried to stand above it, was tempted with bitterness. Both of them are strong vices. I think bitterness is even harder to break because its foundation is in doing what's right. How can that happen? How do we help prevent that from happening? I mean, if that is indeed true, then are we all doomed? I remember hearing about a guy who was bragging that he drank and drove all the time. He never got caught. And then I hear about another person who never drank and drove. And one day he didn't quite realize how strong his beer was, and he gets pulled over and he gets in trouble. And then he's like, but I was the one who's trying to follow the law. I was the one who was trying to do what's right. And how is it that that person gets in trouble, but the person who was intentionally rebelling doesn't? Again, I think it's because of that temptation that the devil's putting on us, wanting us to break, realizing that we're not going to break and follow him because he says, here's this wonderful, horrible vice. So he has to get to us a different way. And so thus he makes other people succeed in their vices. And then we get stymied with that. I think, well, then we start to listen to his evil thoughts, and things get worse. All that to say, movies and games can be those vices. And if we become that voice saying, hey, just come on in, nothing's happening. Sure, nothing may happen to us necessarily for tempting people with that, but that's still temptation. That's still trying to break somebody, trying to weaken their spirit. Anyway, that guy that I mentioned about earlier, the one that had that was caught in the affair, he got, like I said, he got a family, big family. He got a job. He got a house. He got moral support. And that I knew many, many, many guys who didn't even get half that much. And they were the ones that were trying to do things the right way. And he just served as temptation, a mockery, saying, look at how you fail, because this is obviously how you're supposed to win at life. Now, it's not entirely true, though. His punishment, in a way, is longer lasting. He's going to have to live with that shame and tell his kids about it. Then he's going to have to watch as his kids struggle with those same things. He's not getting a pass. But from the sidelines, it looks like he is. He's going to have to deal with that for the rest of his life. Yes, he was spared the consequences, but it still is something he's going to have to deal with and struggle with. Is the fallout of that. And the thing that we got to remember is not to give in to that bitterness. And it's very easy to give into bitterness. That's why it's so important to encourage one another. It's so, so important. And the older I get, the more important I'm seeing this. You don't want to give people false encouragement. Things like, oh, don't worry, you got this. I heard that. I heard that from people who were trying to be encouraging, trying to be motivational. And the whole time, all I heard is, we don't care. There's the door. Get out. It was the most insulting sort of encouragement I could have imagined. And suddenly, I felt that pain. It's like, but I need help. And they're like, no, you're not in that bad of a situation. There's the door, get out. Am I exaggerating that a little bit? Not really. It was actually pretty bad. And I went to a couple of different people when I was in college about that. And you know what? I had to live with the consequences. The consequences of realizing that I was going to have a very hard time and not be able to graduate in the way that I was expecting, that I was going to miss out on opportunities career-wise. Did that impact the guy that was caught in the scandal? No. But we were both being tempted, just in different ways. One with vices, and the other one with seeing opportunities that were promised fall through, and then seeing other people get those opportunities. But you know, there was one guy who did offer good encouragement. And it wasn't a counselor. It was somebody who actually cared, who actually showed an interest in wanting to offer encouragement from a scriptural standing, who looked at you and said, you know what? That is a tough bind, and I'm not sure why that is happening. There is still a purpose for it. And let us pray that God makes that clear, so that way you can be able to start to recover and thrive. That sort of motivation is better than just saying, you got this. By the way, the pastors that said that, or the counselors that said that, you got this. They, every single thing that they said was going to happen didn't. That's when I realized, you people are just kind of saying this because it makes you feel like you're being successful, like you're making a difference. But it doesn't mean you're actually doing that. But the most important thing you can do is say, I acknowledge this is a problem, and I'm going to pray that God shows mercy. But just a blind motivation is not going to help anybody. Especially if they're dealing with bitterness, especially if they're dealing with the fallouts of seeing things not come to pass. So when I see movies, to kind of tie this all around, when I see movies that espouse darkness and espouse fear, and then saying, oh, you're a loser if you don't understand how great this is, I'm like, I beg to differ. Because it becomes a vice, it becomes a taunting, it becomes a temptation trying to drag people down. It's not encouraging. It's not trying to lead people to the light. It's not trying to help people become better. It's trying to help people get trapped in a vice. And that is bad. And I'm worried that our culture has become so numb and so ready to just say, yeah, let's just embrace our vices regardless, that we're not realizing how much harm we're doing to one another. That's one of the main reasons why I left the YouTubers. They wanted to create vices. And I remember hearing that they wanted to start doing twerking in order to get views. No, that's not an exaggeration. That was a legit conversation that was happening. And I helped out with one of them, with helping them to understand if the video was, the way that they were expecting. But the problem was that they had already made up their mind. So was it really me that was directing it? No. They were already doing it. They just said, is the angle right? Anyway, that's enough rambling for right now. I'm going to go silent for a little while. Hey, greetings, Jersey. How you doing? Do you know why when I hit pose apply at rest pose, the mesh snaps back to the previous spot, but bones stay? I don't really know until I've seen the file. That one I would have to see to be able to know what's going on. There's too many things that could be going on. One of the frustrating parts about Blender is that there are many bugs that can happen, and you don't really know what's going on until somebody in a forum kind of announces it, that sort of thing. All right, we're going to do a quick render. I'll be right back. I'm just doing a quick update to this one. now that we've updated this shot before we move on to the next one. By the way, these proxy renders or workbench renders will get deleted at some point. But for now, it's best just to kind of keep it and then figure it out along the way once it's all said and done. All right, save that. And render. And I'll be right back. Oh, just a second. It's not doing the workbench render. There we go. By the way, this should be tomorrow. I'm going to try something different for the stream. I'm going to try and up the quality. I've been debating that for a while. I just got things all set up earlier today. And so tonight, or early tomorrow, I will be getting the final stages of that set up. It's going to be a little bit of an experiment. This is the first step in terms of the big streaming shakeup. So this is the one thing that I know that's a guaranteed improvement, or should be. And then the other ones are going to be experimental. And by the way, just a reminder, we're in the week of animation, which means that every stream is going to focus on this animation until it's done. And then we're going to do a little bit of the community games, and then we're going to move on to drawing to do the same sort of thing. And that's the goal, is that we're going to be doing a whole lot of things where it is hardcore pushes for some of these things. And then, moving on from there. Okay, video editing. Yesterday, I connected 3 objects together with Control-J. They all had their own key shapes, and they didn't transfer for some reason. They just got deleted after merge. I spent like 20 minutes trying to figure out why, and it just worked when I did the exact same thing again. So yeah, maybe it's a Blender. Maybe it's just Blender blendering. Possible. It is indeed possible. It's a little hard to tell, of course. There are weird things that are going to happen. You can't avoid it. Same thing with other software. That's the world of 3D for you. despite it being around for, what is it, 50 years now? Still got a long ways to go. What are the big changes? Changes like whole overlay and stuff. It's more towards some other things. The overlay is going to get a refresh, kind of like the Silverado UI. I don't know if people realized it, but there was actually a soft update that was done to it. One of the other things that's going to happen is this whole frame area is going to be a bit of an update. But the main things are happening behind the scenes for how this is all operating. Things like getting the Linux system up and running, things like getting the internet upgraded. After all these years, I'm finally going to be upgrading. Should be interesting. Oh, and it deleted vertex groups too. Yeah, that's when you merge stuff, it will delete the vertex groups. That's the unfortunate thing. I do know why that happens, and it is. I don't think that they have any schedule to fix it, but it basically resets it because the index is the problem. I got back from some traveling yesterday, and oh great, Blender's freezing. Got back from some traveling yesterday, and it was cinematic, but it wasn't as cinematic as other times I've been in the interior, but it was still, nice to see. Ah, golly. There's some times where I look at the animations and I'm like, I wish it was better. I wish I knew more. This is one of those moments. Oh well. I thought it would, I was screwed as there were 100 shape keys, which I spent 2 whole days setting up. Ooh. Ugh. Good thing I'm paranoid from previous PCs that tended to corrupt stuff, so I saved it every 30 minutes, but my PC is filled with Blender files. That is indeed a problem. One of the things to also be forewarned about is that you do have the benefit of Blender having autosave. It is the best autosave I have found. So you can save versions and whatnot. I have not dabbled in this perfectly. Like autosave happens every 2 minutes for me. And then there are multiple iterations of it as well. So it is good to have backups. But also, if something goes wrong, you do have a lot of Blender files that are automatically that are automatically saved. I'm too paranoid to trust it. I don't blame you. I do not blame you. By the way, I'm not going to be able to go on for too terribly long tonight. I'm going to go to the 2.5 hour marker, but I'm too whooped to stay up late. How do I send this to the other scene? Save this. And we want to link to scene. This is going to be a new shot, actually. So, actually, I think I can just use this one. So we got shot 3. Let's just duplicate this. Full copy, shot 4. Wait, how do you achieve the water effect like volumetric, fog? Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. There's a couple of different ways to do it. I'm currently going with a mist pass. So there is a way to kind of do that in the compositor, and then you're going to apply a mist pass here in the layer settings and in the world. Remember, you can type into the little search bar up at the top, mist, and it will appear. And then you go into the compositor and you start to connect that in. That's how I'm doing it, because it's really easy. Volumetric takes a lot of render time. Mist is like that cheap alternative to kind of do the same thing. That's like the most optimized way through compositor. Yep. Yep. Well. All right, let's go back. I messed up. Autosave. Let's go back to this one, which happened 2 minutes ago. All right, let's go back a little bit further. Autosave. That one's too far back. Let's just go back here. Three, shot 4. Okay, so we're going to actually redo this part here. Actually, wait a second. Bingo. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's do this part again. Shot 4. Save. Now, something happened when I deleted things, so do be a little bit more careful with this one. Because I think this is in the wrong area. Let's just grab all these. Delete that. Aha. Yes, indeed, it is in the wrong area. Well, that's what happens when you open up a folder, a project from years ago. One, two, 6, 5. Have you ever toyed with scripts in Blender? I have. I'm not very good with it. It uses Python, and Python has a couple of quirks to it that I personally have not done very well with. I wish I was better. Really, there's so many cool things you could do with scripts if you know what you're doing, and I don't. I hope to one day, but I dare say that I'm not able to do anything more than like super basic stuff for right now. One of the things that I would love to do with scripts, and I think I might be able to pull this one off, it's some of the repetition of organizing bone parents. Other people have figured that out for their armature systems. I think that there's a slightly better way to do it, but I don't know how to do it yet. Hopefully I'll be able to figure it out one day. But I really need to have like an actual legit tutoring session to get me up to that speed. Something, I don't know what static here. Here, stand by. It's one of the problems of this new setup is that there is a lot more power that's going to the stuff I'm doing, so I actually do have to consider if I have the levels correct and ways that I used to not have to worry. One of the cool things that I would love to do that I don't have the ability, I want to do crowd simulations. Crowd simulations is like one of the most crucial parts to big scale production. And Blender does not have a very good option for that. Blender has failed in this regard routinely. And yes, there are options to do it better, but to date, only Houdini and Blender and Maya have been able to do this effectively. And they're all done by custom code for the best ones. It's not hard to make, like, all things considered. Like, if you're a coder, it's not hard to make. You're basically making a video game. But that means you're making a game engine inside of the software. And that's the problem. You can export Blender to other programs, yeah. Yep, indeed. Yeah, those can handle crowds, not to the level that I would want. Part of the problem is that you can do that. It doesn't mean that it's going to look correct. There's a certain level of quality that I'm looking for, and I've not seen any software additions that have been able to do this effectively, sadly. Because imagine this. You need it. A lot of times you need the product to actually go back to Blender. If you send it to Unreal or Unity, game engines have a very bad render system. And if you want something that's cinematic, you're really limited in what they offer. That's one of the reasons why people complain about a lot of Unreal videos as looking like a video game. If you want to do something that's really good quality, you have to put a lot of programming into it. You have to do pay for some really high-end stuff, and it still looks fake. The best thing to do is to use an in-software render engine like Cycles. Or better yet, Octane. Octane is where it's at. Or RenderMan, although RenderMan's starting to fall off. Maybe there's some paid add-ons for Blender crowds. They're not very good. That's the problem. I would want something that is fairly standardized, that uses the action editor. If you could get that tied into the action editor, problem solved. But they've not figured that out yet. And if there is, then it's a new one, and I've not heard of it yet. But the one that I looked at back a couple of years ago, it was pretty bad. I've not seen Blender really leaning into this one aspect because it's a very heavy piece of code. And while easy enough to make, creates a whole lot of problems, like I said. You know, I so wish that I could have gotten to go to a film school. Man, that would have been something. One of the things that could have happened, is that you start to find people that think in a similar way. And thus you're able to start to plan for big projects. And that never got to really happen. I got to see how small town sort of stuff can really come back and sabotage opportunities. While I'm glad for that I was spared, the world of Hollywood is not something you really want to be set up to operate in. But there's still some things that you miss out on. There's like, if only you could have gotten a chance to work with a team and get to continue to work with them into the future. Would have been nice. Or maybe it could have been bad. You don't know. Don't know until it's time has passed. Zoom. Okay, now we gotta move him. Look back this way. Zoom. There we go. It's still a little low. I knew people that went off and actually formed like their own small teams, their own small studios. But when I graduated, only one guy was willing to do that. And he had very bad finances and caused a lot of problems. And so there was no chance that I was going to be partnering with a guy like that. But you just got to realize that, sometimes that's going to happen. And so while it would have been nice to have gotten a chance to be at one of the bigger schools to get that chance to find people, it could have gone really bad because I knew the nightmare stories of what other people were experiencing. And that was indeed a concern. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, got that. Delete that. And now we're going to press that's duplicate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to make cyclical. Now we're going to bring this back like so. Now his tail will be vibrating as he goes away. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Nope, it's not doing it. Oh, that's because not all of them got it. Make cyclical and make cyclical. I thought it did it automatically for all of them. Perfect. Phone school, I don't get that. I didn't get that. Sorry, I barely speak English. Yeah, film school. No, but you do quite well for English. I mean, I don't speak your tongue, so even though I know, like, I had relatives that were from there, so. Okay, perfect. Save that. Come back here. Let's change those eyes before we do this. Come over here. Viewport. That's black. Save. And I'm going to make this as shot 4. This is a pretty easy shot to do. Oh, no, this isn't. That's right. This is the renewed shot 4. Because shot 3. Shot 1 is the opening. What's shot 2? Shot 2 is looking down. Shot 3 is, that's right. This is the renewed shot 4. So we're just going to use the same naming convention for it. So version 1.1. 0.1. Okay, gotta go. Bye. See ya. Have a great day, Jersey. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you find some success with your project. See you next time, whenever that is. All right, let's render that. That was a fast one. Oh, wait, that line is not looking straight. after I fix this one little area, we're gonna call it there. All right. Zip. It's not half bad. Still a little bit better here. All right, so we're almost done here. Call it. All right, let's not actually do that part. That's just too much, and it's not working. As we come to a close, I'd like to just mention once more, we are in the week of animation. Each day I hope to get a little bit faster as we get closer to this thing being done. Then we move on to the next project, and we'll just keep ping-ponging back and forth between projects in that manner. Save that. Render. Go. Next stream should be a little bit more stable in terms of signal. Hopefully. Hoping and praying. But we will find out. Go over to video editor, and let's add in that shot. A while for that to load up. It really doesn't like going back and forth between the video editor. Get rid of the boat there. But for the most part, that shot is done. Hey, greetings there, Sagacious. How's it going? Or Six? What have you been up to? I think I can extend that out just a little bit there. Maybe move it to right there. Actually, a little bit further. Easier to trim back. Just waking up. How are you? I'm a little tired. Did a lot of driving yesterday. But been productive today. Trying to get some stuff set up for streaming. Trying to get some new updates that are going to be happening. What are you working on? This is currently the animation that I'm trying to get finished. It has been a long time in the making, and definitely hoping to get that squared away. But anyway, it's this is an animation that I started doing years ago, before I even started streaming. And I put it on the shelf because the animation broke. And thankfully, it seems to have been repaired because of a Blender update. So that's why I'm taking the opportunity right now to go back and finalize it, because it's like better to fix it than to just let it kind of sit on the shelf forever and rot. At least that's how I see it. But anyway, that's what I've been working on for today. There's much better timing there. So next time what we'll be doing is we'll be animating this part right here as it zips right past, and then we'll do the loop back around, and then the following day we'll do this one right here. This one will be a little bit harder because there's more to do, so it might take 2 days to do this shot right here. And then we'll start adding in some of the other elements. But so far, 48 seconds has been animated. It's actually pretty promising. Your screen looks like you're trying to solve the beginning of the universe. This is the video editor portion of Blender. So Blender now has this new feature where it has a built-in video editor. It has been a game changer. It's not perfect yet, but man, is it looking better. It allows you to preview things inside the program and make updates on the fly. That part is a little bit clunky, so I've been pre-rendering it. But so far, most of this is done, and what will end up happening is I'll do a prototype render once I get the textures all figured out, and do some refinement of the meshes. So we're looking at probably a good solid week of every day trying to do something more to this, and then once that's finished, should be good to go. Then I can start rendering it, and we'll be on to the next project, which the next animation project is to get the Lego video finished. I had to learn some new techniques, and I think I've started figuring it out by going back and redoing this animation. A lot of things get put on the shelf. Doesn't mean that they're out for the count. Doesn't mean that they're gone. Just means that they're delayed. And I've received some comments from people in the past saying, why don't you ever finish anything? Well, I have finished things. It's just not, the big ones are still in the works. But I'm trying to get that fixed by doing this solid week of trying to get animations done, then do a short break, and then do the next animation in that pattern. Just get the cycle down. And with all the new updates I'm trying to do around here, hopefully that whole process gets a little bit faster. But we're going to close out for the evening. We've been going for 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I need to get some rest because it is going to be a busy day tomorrow. But there's one thing also I just want to bring up as we start to close out. When we get to the next animation, I'm going to start putting out some polls again. I want to get people's opinions on things, but we will have to see how that goes. I don't want to bombard people. I know people don't watch to be bombarded with questions. But on the Discord, I'm going to start posting some questions and see what people's thoughts are on some of the stuff moving forward. But we may start bringing back some more community activities for the in-between times between projects. But anyway, we're going to close out right here. Good night. Yes, indeed, Six. Thanks for coming by. Hope you have a great evening, morning, and we'll see you next time. Same to all of you that are out there, whether you're watching now or watch later on. Have a pleasant evening and morning. Be civil to one another, and share that civility with someone this weekend. And we will see you next time. When we come back, we will be animating this fish getting his, starting to get a little envious of this worm here. And, getting a little hungry for this worm. So yeah, that will be the next animation session there. All right. Until then, folks, have a very pleasant evening.